I grew up in Syria, in a devout Muslim household. From as early as I can remember, my world was centered on faith, daily prayers, religious rules, and a life shaped by spiritual devotion. My father was a well-respected man in our community, and my mother was deeply rooted in her beliefs. They raised me to value obedience, discipline, and full submission to God. As a child, I never questioned anything. I followed every rule, prayed on time, and read the Quran with care and attention. But deep inside, there was always this quiet longing, a question I never dared to ask. Was this really all there was? As I grew older, a sense of emptiness started to grow. Still, I pushed it aside. I told myself I just needed to be more devoted. Maybe I wasn't sincere enough in my prayers or fasting. So I tried harder. I became even more disciplined, rising before sunrise to pray, dressing modestly, and memorizing more surahs than ever before. But the emptiness never left. And then, everything shifted. It started the day I got sick. At first, it was just exhaustion, this overwhelming tiredness I couldn't shake. I assumed it was stress or maybe just not getting enough rest. But within a few weeks, it got worse. My body weakened, and I struggled even to stand. My parents took me from doctor to doctor, but no one had answers. They gave me pills, treatments, even natural remedies. Nothing helped. I kept getting weaker. Until one day, I collapsed completely. I remember lying in bed, unable to move, feeling like my body was shutting down. My parents called the imam. He prayed over me, asking God to heal me. My mother clutched my hand, tears falling, begging me to keep fighting, but I had no strength left. My eyes closed, and then everything went dark. What happened next was unlike anything I had ever experienced. I wasn't asleep or unconscious. I was somewhere else. The darkness was heavy and thick, almost crushing. Fear gripped me. I didn't know where I was, but I knew I wasn't in my body anymore. I tried to move, but it felt like my legs were frozen in place. Then I heard it. Voices. At first just whispers, but they grew louder. And they weren't comforting. They were filled with fear, pain, and sorrow. I turned, trying to find where the voices came from, but I saw nothing. The air felt suffocating, and a wave of despair hit me harder than anything I'd ever known. Then I saw it. Fire burning far off in the distance. This fire wasn't like anything on earth. It was wild, alive, and the heat reached me even from afar. As I stared, I noticed figures moving within the flames. The voices turned into screams, real, horrifying screams of suffering. My heart raced as I realized what I was seeing. It was hell. Terror took hold of me. This couldn't be happening. This couldn't be real. I had been faithful. I had prayed. I followed every command. I honored everything I was taught. So why was I here? My mind spun, trying to understand. And then I heard it. My name. Jamila. The voice echoed through the darkness, deep, thunderous. It wasn't gentle, it was filled with rage and accusation. I tried to turn toward it, but I still couldn't move. The fire's shadows grew clearer, and then I saw them, faces twisted in pain, reaching out, crying for help. Their screams pierced through me. Jamila, you belong here. The voice spoke again, and suddenly I felt something pulling at me. An unseen force dragged me forward, toward the flames. I screamed, trying to fight it, but I couldn't. The heat closed in, the cries deafening, and I felt myself being pulled straight into the fire. And then, in the height of my fear, something else appeared. A light, faint at first, but growing steadily, piercing through the heavy darkness. This light wasn't like the fire I had seen. It was pure, peaceful, radiating warmth. The shadows around me seemed to shrink away from it. And then I saw him, a man dressed in white, standing at the center of that light. His presence was powerful, but not frightening. It felt like love itself was flowing from him. He looked into my eyes, and in that instant, everything changed. The terror, the sorrow, the crushing hopelessness, it all disappeared. I didn't need to ask who he was. Somehow, I already knew. It was Jesus. He extended his hand toward me. "Jamila," he said, his voice calm and full of authority. "You do not belong here." Tears filled my eyes. I was confused. Why had he come? I had never followed him. I'd only ever thought of him as a prophet, nothing more. But standing there in his light, I knew. With every part of my being, I knew he was more than a prophet. He was beyond what I'd ever imagined. The grip that had dragged me toward the fire suddenly let go, and I dropped to my knees. Jesus stepped closer. His light completely pushed back the darkness. "Come to me, Jamila," he said. "You've been searching for the truth. I am the truth." My heart broke open in that moment. All the years of emptiness, the longing, the prayers that had gone unanswered, it all finally made sense. The truth wasn't in my striving or my rituals or trying to be worthy. The truth was right in front of me, offering life, offering love. I wanted to go to him. I wanted to take his hand. But I hesitated. What would happen if I did? Would my family abandon me? Would I lose everything I knew? It felt like he could hear my thoughts. "Don't be afraid," he said. "I will never leave you." The love in his voice crushed every fear. I reached out. And the moment my hand touched his, everything changed. The darkness vanished, and a peace filled me that I'd never known before. It felt like I was finally home. Then just like that, I was back. My eyes opened, and I was in my hospital bed. My mother gasped. My father stood frozen. Doctors rushed in. I had woken up, but I knew this wasn't just waking from a coma. I had been brought back. I had met someone I never thought I'd meet. And I knew life would never be the same. I gasped for air, heart pounding like I'd been running for miles. The hospital ceiling slowly came into focus, and for a second, I was completely disoriented. My mother clung to my hand, crying. My father stood beside her, speechless. The medical staff flooded the room, speaking words I couldn't quite absorb, but none of it mattered. Because I knew what had just happened. I had seen hell. I had heard the cries of the lost. I had felt the pull of darkness. And then I had seen him, Jesus. He had saved me. He had spoken to me, and the warmth of his presence was still echoing in my heart. As I looked around at the people I loved, reality started to sink in. I was back, but everything inside me had changed. My mother's voice broke through my thoughts. "Jamila, you're awake. Alhamdulillah." She pressed her forehead to my hand, sobbing. My father whispered a prayer of thanks, but his eyes, they unsettled me. There was relief, but also something else, a hint of worry, maybe even suspicion. The doctors called it a miracle. They said they didn't think I'd make it, but I barely listened. My thoughts were still in that place, the place where he had called my name. I wanted to speak, to explain what had happened. But how could I? How could I tell them that the Jesus we knew only as a prophet had pulled me from the flames of hell? The days that followed were focused on healing. My body was weak, but inside I felt stronger than I ever had. I couldn't shake Jesus' words. "You have been searching for the truth. I am the truth." The way he looked at me, the peace that poured into me, how could I deny it? Yet fear lingered. If I accepted this truth, it would change everything. My family, my identity, my entire life had been rooted in Islam. Questioning that, it was dangerous. Leaving it, unthinkable. I had heard the stories. People cast out, disowned, worse. One night, lying awake, I whispered, "God, if this is real, If Jesus truly is who he says he is, show me again. I didn't expect anything, but almost instantly, a gentle warmth filled the room. Not like the fire I had seen before. This was different. It was comforting, peaceful. I closed my eyes, and there he was again. Not in a dream, not in another vision of heaven or hell, but right beside me. I couldn't see his face clearly, but I knew it was him, Jamila. His voice was soft but strong. Don't be afraid. Follow me. Tears slid down my cheeks. I whispered, but what will happen to me? I am with you, he replied. The words settled deep in my heart. I couldn't ignore what I had experienced. I needed to know more. I needed to understand who Jesus truly was. But how? I had never even touched a Bible. The thought alone scared me. It wasn't allowed, but I needed answers. The next morning, as I sat quietly in my bed, lost in thought, a nurse walked in. She felt different from the others. There was something about her presence, warm, familiar. She smiled gently as she adjusted my IV. Then her eyes drifted to the Quran my father had left on the table. You are very blessed, Jamila, she said gently. I looked at her, confused. What do you mean? She paused, choosing her words carefully. Then she leaned in slightly and whispered, Jesus saved you, didn't he? My breath caught, my heart raced. How did she know? I stared at her, stunned. She smiled knowingly. You don't need to be afraid. He calls many of us, even when we least expect it. I wanted to cry. Someone understood. Someone had been through this too. My voice trembled. What do I do? I asked. Her smile softened. Ask him to guide you. He will. That night, alone in my room, I did something I never thought I'd do. I whispered his name again. Jesus, if you really are the way, show me. And that's when my journey truly began. I sat on the edge of my hospital bed, staring at the empty wall. My mind was spinning with emotions I couldn't fully name. Fear, hope, confusion. Everything I had believed, everything I had built my life on, was now being shaken by something undeniable. The nurse's words echoed in my mind. Jesus saved you, didn't he? How could she have known? Could it be that others had experienced this too? That thought scared me and comforted me. If I accepted this truth, nothing in my life would stay the same. My father entered the room. His face was unreadable. You're quiet, Jamila, he said, pulling up a chair. Are you feeling okay? I hesitated. I'm just thinking. He studied me. Thinking about what? How could I say it? That everything I believed was now uncertain. That Jesus, the one we called a prophet, had saved me, spoken to me, and told me to follow him. I feel different, I finally said, carefully. His eyes narrowed. Different how? I swallowed. I don't know. It's hard to explain. His face darkened and he sighed. Jamila, we thought we'd lost you. Allah has spared you. Use this time to renew your faith. His voice was firm with expectation. I nodded, but inside I knew I wasn't the same. Something in me had changed forever. I couldn't sleep. My chest felt heavy, weighed down by uncertainty. I turned and whispered into the stillness, Jesus, are you still here? The room felt different somehow, charged with a presence I couldn't see, but I could sense it all around me. A deep calm washed over me. And then, in my mind, I saw him again, standing not far from my bed. His eyes held so much love, but there was also something serious in his expression. Follow me, he said again. Tears welled up. I want to, I whispered, but I'm scared. He moved closer, and a warmth filled my chest. Do not be afraid, he said, I'm with you. The next morning, I woke up with a quiet resolve. I needed answers. I had to understand who Jesus really was. But where was I supposed to begin? That afternoon, the nurse who had spoken to me before returned. As she adjusted my IV, she leaned in and asked gently, "Have you thought more about what we talked about?" I hesitated, then nodded. "I just don't know what to do." She reached into her pocket and pulled out a small, worn book. My breath caught as I realized what it was. A Bible. Her hand placed it carefully on the bed beside me. "Start with the book of John," she said softly. "Read with an open heart. Ask Jesus to guide you to the truth." I stared at the book, my pulse racing. If my parents saw it, it would be a disaster. But something deep within me urged me forward. I had asked for a sign, and maybe this was it. That night, when the house was quiet, I gently opened the Bible. My eyes landed on the words of John 1:1. "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God." A chill ran down my spine. I kept reading, my heart pounding with every verse. Then I came to John 14:6. "I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me." Tears blurred my vision. I had heard those very words when I was on the edge of death. I am the truth. Deep down, I knew I couldn't run from it anymore. Jesus wasn't just a prophet, he was the Savior. But what did that mean for me? Could I really follow him? Could I risk losing everything? I closed my eyes and whispered, "Jesus, if this is really you, give me the courage to follow." And in that moment, I knew my life would never be the same. I sat in my room staring at the Bible the nurse had given me. My hands shook. The decision before me felt massive. If I chose Jesus, everything would change. My family, my future, my entire identity. But how could I turn away after what I had seen, after what I had felt? A soft knock broke the silence. My mother peeked into the room, her eyes full of concern. "Jamila, are you all right?" I quickly slipped the Bible under my pillow and forced a smile. "Yes, Mama. Just resting." She came in and sat beside me. "You've been so quiet since you came home. We prayed so hard for you." Guilt twisted in my chest. I loved them so deeply, and I knew they meant well. But I also knew they wouldn't understand what was happening inside me. My mother took my hand. "Allah gave you another chance, Jamila. You should be thankful." I lowered my gaze. How could I tell her that it wasn't Allah who met me in the darkness? It was Jesus, that he had saved me, not because of anything I'd done, but because of who he was. After she left, I pulled the Bible back out and flipped through the pages. Every verse felt like it was speaking directly to me. I read about Jesus healing the sick, forgiving sinners, and giving his life for the world. Then I came across a passage that made my heart stop. Matthew 10:37-38. "Anyone who loves their father or mother more than me is not worthy of me. Whoever does not take up their cross and follow me is not worthy of me." My heart pounded. Jesus wasn't asking for half of me, he was asking for everything. Over the next few days, I wrestled with that. I prayed quietly, asking Jesus for strength. And then one evening, something happened. My father called me into the living room where an old family friend sat with him, an Islamic scholar we had always respected. "Jamila," my father said, "Imam Yusuf is here to speak with you. We've been worried about how distant you've been lately. He may be able to help." My stomach dropped. They knew something. The Imam gave me a kind smile. "Your father says you've been struggling since your illness. That's not unusual, but the answer is clear. Hold fast to the truth of Islam. Doubts are whispers from the enemy." My father nodded. "Yes, Jamila. Don't forget how we were raised. Our faith has always been our guide." Tears burned in my eyes. I loved them, I respected them, but I couldn't lie anymore. I took a breath and spoke softly. "I've been searching for the truth, and I believe I've found it." The room went still. My father's face turned hard. "What are you saying?" I hesitated, then said it quietly. "I met Jesus." My mother gasped. My father's hands clenched. The imam's eyes narrowed. "What did you say?" my father demanded. Tears streamed down my face. "When I was dying, Jesus came to me. He saved me. Since then, I felt his presence. I've been reading, learning, and I believe he is the way." My father stood suddenly, his face red with rage. "Enough! Stop this nonsense, Jamila." My mother wept, shaking her head in disbelief. The imam sighed heavily. "This is dangerous," he said. "You must let go of these ideas. You will bring shame to your family." I swallowed the lump in my throat. I had known this moment would come, but it didn't make it easier. "I love you all," I said through sobs. "But I can't deny the truth anymore." My father's eyes turned cold. "Then you are no longer my daughter." His words struck deeper than I could have imagined. My mother begged me to reconsider. The imam shook his head sadly. That night I sat alone in my room, my heart aching. His words echoed in my mind. "Then you are no longer my daughter." I knew this would happen. I had prepared myself. But the pain of it hit harder than I expected. In one moment, I had lost my family, my home, everything I knew. But deep within, I felt free, because Jesus was worth it. Tears fell from my eyes as I whispered, "Jesus, I've given up everything for you. What do I do now?" In that stillness, I felt the same presence I had known during my near-death experience. A peace beyond explanation that filled my heart and surrounded me like a gentle embrace. I wasn't alone. Jesus was right there. I picked up my Bible and read his words in Matthew 19:29. "And everyone who has left houses or brothers or sisters or father or mother or wife or children or fields for my sake will receive 100 times as much and will inherit eternal life." That promise took root deep inside me. Though I had lost my earthly family, I had gained something greater, the family of God. I didn't know what tomorrow would bring, but I knew who held my future in his hands. The days that followed were hard. My family kept their distance, and whispers about me floated through the neighborhood. I became a stranger in the place I once called home. Sometimes my mother would enter my room and sit in silence, her eyes heavy with sorrow. I ached to reach out, to remind her I was still her daughter. But I knew she couldn't see it. One evening, my little brother crept into my room. "Jamila," he whispered, "why are you doing this? Why would you leave everything we believe?" I took his hand softly and said, "I'm not walking away from the truth. I've finally found it." He looked at me, puzzled. "But what if you're wrong?" he asked. I smiled, tears welling up again. "Then why do I feel so much peace?" He didn't answer. He just shook his head and walked out. Still, I knew something had been planted in his heart. In time, things reached a breaking point. My father told me I was no longer welcome in his house. So I gathered my few things and walked away, stepping into a future I couldn't see. With each step, the pain of what I'd lost pressed down on me, but something else rose up. Freedom. I wasn't walking alone. Jesus was guiding me, and wherever he would lead, I was ready to follow. My walk with Christ was just beginning. The road ahead would be rough, but I was sure of one thing. I'd never turn back. I had found the truth, and it had set me free.